Well, they asked an almost impossible question. Seven of them died. 7 men died, and none of them raised up children, left no children, and died. Now that was a hypothetical question for sure, because the chances that would happen would be like winning the lottery, so to speak, that there would be 7 men, each one of them in succession, brothers. They would take the wife, no children. And so Jesus knew they were asking a trick question. But he said, last of all, they said, last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife is she? For 7 had her away. And Jesus said, now wait a minute, let's answer this. The children of the world marry and are given in marriage, but they that are going to obtain that world and the resurrection of the dead, they're not going to marry in that world. Neither will they be given in marriage in that world. So therefore, you're asking a foolish question, whose wife she's going to be in the resurrection. Because in the resurrection, they're not going to marry. Or it wasn't speaking of this present life, because the Bible said, Hebrews 13, marriage is honorable and the bed undefiled. So he said, but in they that are accounted worthy, in other words, if you're going to be in the resurrection, don't go there thinking that you're going to marry or give in marriage, because that's an earthly thing here. That's not in the resurrection. That's here. That's where it is. And he said, neither can they die anymore. Now this is the overcoming church in heaven in the resurrection. Not those who come forth on the earth in the resurrection. See, neither can they die anymore, for they're equal unto the angels. That gives them a celestial body. To be equal to the angel, they would have to have a changed body, transformed body, which they don't have when they come from the resurrection in Revelation 20 of the just and the unjust. They resurrect with a natural body, an earthly body. But when you resurrect in the first resurrection, you don't marry, you don't give in marriage, you can't die anymore, and you're equal to the angels. You're like an angel. So now that's one resurrection. So that resurrection is the first resurrection in Luke 20 and 36. That's not the resurrection in Revelation 20 and the rest of the dead. Then the other, John 5:29, John 5:28 and 29, Jesus said, the hour is coming, and now is. See, in which all that are in the grave, well, shall hear his voice, and shall come forth. Marvel not at this, 5:28, St. John, Gospel of John, 5:28, marvel not at this, for the hour is coming. It wasn't there yet. Wasn't there yet. But he said, in the which all that are in the graves shall hear his voice. Now, where was this resurrection? It wasn't Luke 20 and 34. And it wasn't. Let's turn over to Matthew 27:52. Now, keep your place in John, but let's go over to Matthew 27 and 52, 53, because here is another resurrection. In Matthew 27:52 and 53, is that what we got here? Let me get to it here. Come on over here, maybe 26th chapter. Let's Bible, I don't like it. It's hard to turn the page. 27 and 52. I got it now. All right, 27:52. And the graves were open. Well, 51. Now this was after Jesus yielded up the ghost. Then the veil of the temple was torn in two, signifying the law had been opened and a way into grace was made. The veil of the temple was split, showing you could look at the Holy of Holies and the holy place through Christ to the top to the bottom. And the earth did quake. There was an earthquake. And of course the rocks shook or rent. 52. And the graves were open, and many bodies of saints which slept arose and came out of the graves after his resurrection, went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. Now this resurrection was when Christ gave up the ghost. And when Christ resurrected, then many bodies of the saints, he was the first fruit, then they resurrected. It wasn't the resurrection in John 5 and 28, because that was the saints. But over in 5, 28, 29, it was more than the saints. It wasn't just the saints. And marvel not at this, I'm back in John, for the hour is coming, which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice. All that are in the graves. Well, that all there is not all, because Matthew 27:52, they didn't hear his voice. I'm showing you the word all is inclusive of all. All that are included in all. You know, that's all. In any setting of the Bible, all, when it's mentioned, is all that's included in all. That segment, that part. They come forward, and they have done good, they that have done good, not going to do good, they that have done good unto the resurrection of life. And they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. Now here's a resurrection where all that are in the graves, that are just and unjust, come forth. Not the saints in Matthew 27. Well, they come forth to receive damnation or life. Well, who is this now? Since we have Matthew 27, they came forth when Jesus came forth. We have the fact that in Luke, those people in that resurrection must be saints, because they received celestial body, and they neither marry nor are given in marriage, and more importantly, they neither can die anymore, and they're equal to the angels. So now in Revelation 20, we have the term first resurrection mentioned. Revelation 20. And we have the term first resurrection. To my knowledge, that's the first time this term is used. I may be overlooking one. In verse 5, well, no, let me use verse 4. You have to use verse 4 to understand 5 and 6. John said, and I saw thrones after Satan was loosed. This is after the 1,000 years, after the reign of Christ for 1,000 years with the saints, and then Satan is loosed for a little season. Then John sees exalted places, thrones. A throne is an exalted place denoting royalty or judgment. And they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. Unto them now. All right, let's see who